What's good, guys? This is Dan for BladeReviews.com. Thanks for joining me. Welcome to my review of the Fantoni Cut Flipper. Man, this is a knife I have been pining over for years, and I'm just very, very excited to be able to finally share some thoughts on the Cut Flipper with you now that I have one in my own collection here. And just couldn't be more excited to share some thoughts on this beautiful knife. Now, I have it next to a Sebenza 25 on top and, of course, a Strider SNG below. I think that it makes for a great size comparison. They're all about the same size. The Cut Flipper has a 3.5-inch blade and an overall length of a little over 8 inches, I believe. So I think that they compare favorably, obviously, in size, but also in quality. I think that the Cut Flipper certainly belongs up there, right next to the SNG and the Sebenza, and I know that that may be a bold claim, but hopefully after showing you this knife, you may agree with me that this is a really special piece. So let's pull the SNG and the Sebenza 25 off the table and take a look at the blade of the Cut Flipper. And by the way, I guess before we get into the nitty-gritty here, I will say this is a Dmitry Sinkovich design. Dmitry also designed the Zero Tolerance 454, which I reviewed not too long ago. He's also designed a number of the flippers for Shirogorov, so very exclusive and at the time of this video, highly coveted knives out of Russia. So Dmitry Sinkovich is very hot right now, and the Cut Flipper is perhaps ironically, the easiest way to access Dmitry Sinkovich's designs, because the Shirogorovs are through the roof in price, and the 454 is, you just can't find them. So here you go. This is almost the poor man's kind of Shirogorov or 454, but it's still a $400 knife. So anyhow, let's take a look at the blade here, which is a very interesting blade shape. It's got this upswept shape to it, a trailing point almost, hallmarked by a very long belly, a high flat grind. You've got a little swedge going on here. The knife has been made from a substantial piece of S30V steel, and the finish on it is really something else. It's highly reflective, as you can see here, picking up the camera, and hopefully not too much of me. But what you've got is some sort of polished blade with a tumbled stone-washed finish to it. So you get a very elegant finish here, a high-end finish, but it's been knocked back a little bit with a stonewash, making it a little bit more utilitarian. And it seems to wear really well, and it also seems to perform really well. Haven't noticed any kind of rust or corrosion, and I think having this finer finish on it will help versus, say, I don't know, like a bead blasted finish. It's a very porous finish that'll attract corrosion. Polished finish, on the other hand, is going to help prevent corrosion. So, I mean, if you take this to the beach or something, it'll probably still rust, but relatively speaking. So very nice, elegant finish to it. The blade, the knife, it actually cuts really well. I haven't hard used this knife or anything like that, but I have been carrying it. I did do some cutting with it, and S30V blade, I mean, they did a good job with the heat treat. It'll zip through boxes, it'll carve a little bit, it'll do some food prep. It's definitely a working knife, and the S30V steel is totally adequate. I do think they're going to be releasing a limited run of the Cut and the Cut Flipper in S125V, and that ought to be something really special. So if you're into super steels, keep your eye out for that. But fantastic blade. Let's take a look at the handle here, which is almost even more interesting than the blade, just because there's so much going on. But what they did is they started off with a 3D machine piece of black G10 here, put it over some thick titanium liners, and then you've got like a 3/4 backspacer here with a lanyard pin. Beautiful finishing on this knife. Every corner of the titanium and the backspacer and the G10, it's all been finished here very nicely, chamfered delicately, and the fit and finish is just phenomenal. That's why I put it next to the Sebenza and the SNG there. Those are two knives that I also think have been finished very well. But this cut flipper is just something else. One thing I really like is how the titanium sort of shadow boxes the G10 in some areas, but in other areas the G10 pokes out, purposefully here. It's part of the design on the front of the handle as well, and down by the flipper tab. And I just love the way that it all kind of ebbs and flows here. Visually very interesting. Beautiful, beautiful handle. I love the selection of oversized hardware. Really nice, really special, and just immaculate construction. Hopefully that'll get picked up here as I try to show you some close-up shots of this handle. Super, super nice. Looking at the pocket clip is quite simple. Just a bent piece of titanium here with the Fantoni logo, but it's, again, been done very nicely. Nice blasted finish. The choice of hardware, again, is excellent. I mean, they're dome screws, but they're very high-quality dome screws, and just beautifully executed. They did drill and tap this for ambidextrous tip-up carry, which is nice, kind of a practical lean. And while this is a high-end knife, it is also a practical user. And in pocket and in practice, the pocket clip works well. The knife carries pretty well. It's a heavier knife. It's 5.3 ounces, so you'll definitely feel this in your pocket. But for a bigger knife, I think it carries nicely. I think the pocket clip works really well. Very stiff spring action on that clip, so it's not going to go anywhere. Ergonomically, the cut flipper is great. It's a thicker knife. Again, it's been chamfered here, so it's thinner on this end and it gets thicker on the back end of it. So it fills the hand really well. There is a run of relatively mild jimping on the spine here. Perfect for indexing your thumb. It will hold it in place, but it's not going to tear up your thumb. One thing I noticed about the Sebenza 25, for example, is it's got some really sharp jimping, and that gets very uncomfortable, I find, for any kind of extended or hard cutting. The cut flipper has a nice mild run of jimping, looks great, does its job, but it's not going to tear your thumb up to the point where you're going to get blisters on your thumb. So I like that. And I think the cut flipper will certainly accommodate most hand sizes here. So plenty of real estate. Let's talk a little bit about the flipping action on the cut flipper. Keep in mind that they do offer this knife both in the flipper variation shown here, as well as one with a series of thumb holes. And the flipping action is okay. It's not an amazing flipper. You have to push button it. We got some nice flips there, but I am preloading it pretty hard here. It's not nearly as amazing of a flipper as, say, the Zero Tolerance 454 that I showed you, or even like a regular ZT 0560. The detent just isn't that strong. So if you're really into super satisfying flippers, unfortunately the cut flipper, at least this model here, isn't the most amazing flipper, but certainly you can flip the knife open, and it hasn't detracted my enjoyment of the cut flipper, at least. But I got to keep it real here. The detent could certainly stand to be stronger, in comparison to all the super strong detents found on custom knives and even production knives these days. So for lockup, you do have a substantial liner lock here, titanium liner lock. Mine engages fully. It really hasn't moved from here since I've gotten the knife. Very sturdy. No side to side, no up and down. Super strong. Seems to be wearing very well here. And no stick with this titanium liner either. So a very, very nice liner lock. And it's just a beautiful knife. So that would kind of run through it. Final thoughts on the cut flipper. I'm super happy with mine. I've been wanting one of these for a couple years now, and to finally get one is just amazing. It's definitely met my expectations. In some regards, it's exceeded it. I mean, the details of it are just wonderful, and I couldn't be happier with it. Sure, I would love to see that detent be a touch stronger if I were nitpicking here, but beyond that, I find very little to find fault with here with the cut flipper. So if you're at all interested, I totally recommend checking one out. Fantoni makes some excellent stuff, and While this is my first Fantoni, I can guarantee you it won't be my last. So, all right, guys, that's the review. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, this is Dan for BladeReviews.com. Take care, and I'll be back soon with another knife review.